Okay, I'm back to talk some more about how to read a textbook and get more information out of it. So if you remember from my beautiful triangle drawing here, when we sit down to read, it's called the reading event. And there are three things that affect how much information we're going to get out of that textbook when we sit down to read. We talked about the book itself with its text tools. We talked about the setting with internal and external distractions that we want to remove. Now we're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about you as the reader, because there are certain things that you bring to the reading event as well that are going to make a difference. One of them, of course, is how well you decode. Decode just means how well you take those circles and lines that make up letters, put them together, recognize the letters, recognize the sounds that go with the letters, and make the words. If that's more difficult for you, it's going to take you longer to read. If that's easier for you, it's going to take you less time to read, and you're not going to have to put as much effort into being able to read. So that's all decoding means. That does make a difference. The other two things that you bring with you are your background knowledge. Everything that you have ever heard, tasted, smelled, felt, seen, anything is all stored here inside your brain. That's your background knowledge, what you know, what you've experienced. The third thing that you bring with you is a purpose. Why do you want to read this? Now, if you sit down and say, I hate this, I'm reading this just because I have to for a quiz tomorrow, you are not going to get as much out of it as if you sit down and say, hey, this is really interesting. I'm going to need to know this later when I become a, whatever your profession is going to be. So that mental self-talk makes a difference in setting your purpose. The more personal you can make your purpose, the more you can make it have meaning to you, the more likely that you're going to pay attention to what you're reading and you're going to understand it more. So those are some things that you bring with you. One of the things that we talk a little bit about are dendrites. When we learn new information, we grow a dendrite in our brain. And a dendrite looks like a tree. It kind of looks like this. These are our dendrites. Now, the more we know about a subject, the denser our dendrites are. If we don't know very much about something, we just got little tiny dendrites. And these are very specific to the information that we know. So we say that learning occurs when we make a connection between new and old information. So what we already know and what we're reading. If we know a lot, it's really easy to make a connection. We don't know very much about it. It takes us a lot of time and effort to grow these new dendrites. Now in college, we tend to be growing new dendrites because if we knew a lot of it, we wouldn't be here. So it takes us a lot of time and effort to do this learning. So our background knowledge, how dense our network of dendrites is for the information, is going to make a difference. So let's just see how this works. Let me do a little example for you. Now when I write this word up here, I want you to think of the first thing that you see when you see this word. Okay, you ready? All right, I'm going to write the word. So think about the first thing that you thought of. It's going to be different for everybody. Some people are actually going to picture a rock. Some people might picture it in a setting like at the bottom of a stream. Some people are going to think of music, rock and roll music, or a particular band even. Some people are going to think about mountain climbing because that's something that they like. One time when I did this, a student said, diamond. Well, she had just gotten engaged that weekend. So guess what was on her left hand? A big rock was on her left hand in her engagement ring. So it all depends on your experiences. If you have never, ever, ever gone mountain climbing, you are probably not going to think of that first. If you're not much into music, that's not going to be what you think of either. If you have not gone to camping, if you haven't seen a stream, you're not going to be able to have that image. So it really is very specific to your experiences and background. So why does this matter? Well, it matters because we want to make sure that we bring everything that we know with us when we sit down to read. When we sit down to read, there's something called the reading process. Now, lots of times we just sit down and we just start reading. That's actually not the best way to read a textbook. Because remember, a textbook takes a little more work, a little more concentration. There's actually 3 stages to the reading process. First is the pre-read. Then is the read, which is where we tend to jump in. And then it's the post-read, which we tend to not do. But if we follow these 3 stages of the reading process, we're going to get more out of our textbook. And we're going to talk about those next.